everyone, my name's Courtney. Welcome to Little Stitches. I'm a mom on a budget showing you how to sew more, spend less, and love what you wear. Today we're going to talk about how I use this beautiful knit green fabric on a woven pattern and what I learned from it. I have a bunch of knit fabrics piled up in my fabric stash and I have to use them. I have this goal where I can't buy any more fabric until I've used what I've got, and I knew this fabric would make an adorable romper. Don't worry, tutorial coming soon. Uh, and but the problem is that the pattern's only for woven fabric. Woven means not stretchy, and knit means stretchy at least to some degree. Um, and I did teach myself how to sew, and I've been doing this for around 10 years now. So this is just some of the things that I've done to get started and what I've learned as well. So first things first, you're going to actually size down the pattern because obviously you don't want your fabric to be baggy on it, especially since knit is typically heavier. And I sized down two sizes just because I was too lazy to size it up and do math. But it worked out really well for me, and I just suggest that you size down one at first just to test it out and see how it looks. You can always sew it closer to the seams if you need be and like take it in. So I knew right away that I was gonna have to change my needle into a stretch needle instead of, using a regular ball point needle. And, my machine won't connect the bottom thread and the top thread unless I use a stretch needle for my stretch fabric. You can use a straight stitch if you want, but if your material needs to stretch, then your thread's gonna snap. You could use something that I did use, which I'll talk about in a second, which is like an elastic thread. But most of the time, when you're sewing knit fabrics, you're gonna want to use a zigzag stitch, especially if you don't have a serger available to you. And um, yeah, and what I was doing for this pattern is that I needed to use a lot of straight seams, so I kind of cheated and used this elastic thread. It's called EcoFlex, and it is stretchy, so it works. So it'll stretch with your fabric, and when you wear it, so it stretches with your fabric, so it'll help you as you go through. But that was my little cheat for doing this, especially since I was using a woven pattern. It didn't really give me a lot of room to use that zigzag stitch without it looking a little funky. I was pretty familiar with the things that I had to change beforehand, but something that I definitely learned was that if you need to sew something that is more, cosmetic, and especially on knit fabric, like here I am, I'm top stitching, and it did not go very well. Like I needed to use interfacing. The original pattern doesn't call for top stitching, it actually calls for hand stitching, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it on my machine to connect my straps, and I top stitched, and it just turned it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but it's not enough to make me want to undo it and then do it the right way. Funny enough, right? And so on my reveal photo, you'll see that there is a little hangover, and if you check out my blog, there's a closer up picture. My lines are definitely not straight because it moved all over the place, and I'm trying not to pull it. I'm trying to guide it through because you don't want to pull it. You just want to guide so that your fabric doesn't stretch a little bit. And so I definitely would suggest using interfacing for the finer details. And this was just something that I decided to do last minute. So I didn't have time to plan for it. And I was just like, oh, let's just go for it. Yeah, so definitely if the woven pattern, the pattern that does not call for stretch fabric, suggests you do something with finer details, highly recommend interfacing your knit fabric, and even better if you have a stretch interfacing. I also do not have that. The problem with not having a stretch interface for something that you want to stretch is that it's going to rip, and it's not going to hold that anymore either. But the least you can do is that at least it helps you get those fine details first, and then it'll look better, and then it can also stretch later after it rips, and usually it's not noticeable. So So this is the final product. I absolutely love it. I am definitely glad that I did it. And, it's super soft, it's super comfortable. I definitely consider it a success. Uh, Even with, its little flaws, I don't really mind, it wears really nicely. I'm very happy with it, and I would definitely do it again. And so I definitely suggest if you find the perfect pattern, and it's for woven, you have knit fabric, definitely try to give these tips a try and create what you can with it because I'm very glad that I did because it turned out so well. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe, the like, and don't forget to check out my blog. Thank you very much. See you guys next time.